if I remember correctly, back in the day, right, didn't it come out that like part of the requirements for the TA position was that you had to do an internship either with Pullman, PD, sheriff's office, whatever. It was a requirement, right? It wasn't the you can if you want to. It was the requirement, if I remember correctly, right? Part of the TA position, part of the PhD program position. It was a requirement for you to do this internship with one of the local police departments, correct?
And that would be incorrect. So here's just an overview on the Doctor of Philosophy in Criminal Justice and Criminology, which was what Kohberger was working on at WSU. And it says that a student aspiring to earn a PhD degree should expect to spend 3 to 4 years, depending on the individual, in study and research beyond the MA degree, of which at least 2 years must be enrolled at Washington State University, and at least 2 consecutive semesters must be spent in residence as a graduate student in criminal justice. This degree program is designed for the student entering the graduate program with an MA or MS degree. Well, that's what Kohberger already had, the MS from DeSales. So here's the requirements. 72 credits total, 39 graded credits. Credits earned for your MA count towards this total. If you enter the program with an MA from another university, some of your credits may transfer. And 33 dissertation research credits. Teaching/research. In addition to the course requirements, each student in the PhD program is required to have formal teaching and or research experience in an institution of higher learning before receiving the PhD degree. Serving as a teaching assistant in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology satisfies this teaching requirement. Collecting original data also fulfills this requirement. So as you can see, there's no internship requirement as part of the PhD program. You have to either teach or do research. So those are assistantships, not internships, okay? An assistantship is when you're actually doing work in exchange for pay. And then with PhD programs, they apply that money towards the cost of their tuition and their room and board, etc., so their expenses. It's not an internship where you're going out somewhere else and shadowing around and learning on the job. An assistantship is actually doing the work. It's doing the research. It's doing the teaching. So what Brian Kohberger had was a teacher's assistantship, TA, because he didn't get the research assistantship he applied for. And there's confusion in the media, and that came from Brett Payne in the affidavit, because Payne put in there that it was an internship, not the assistantship that he had applied for. But we know Kohberger did not get the assistantship through the PhD program with Pullman Police because he was working as a TA. Had he got the research lab assistantship, he wouldn't have been working as a TA. You have to do either. You have to teach or you have to do research. So when he didn't get the lab assistantship, then he got a teaching assistantship. We also know he didn't get it because the spokesperson for WSU came out and said he didn't have access to the complex social interactions lab, and that would have been the lab he would have been running had he got the research assistantship. So I'll just refresh everybody's memory again on that assistantship. So this is what he had applied for in the spring of 2022 when there was that email exchange with Gary Jenkins, who at the time was the Pullman Police Department. And it was the doctoral level graduate research assistantship for public safety. And the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology, working with local public safety agencies, created 2 3-year graduate assistantships with the City of Pullman and the City of Pasco. So one of those was with the Pullman Police Department, and then the other with Pasco down here in the Tri-Cities. And this unique program is a collaboration between Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology, the graduate school, and the cities of Pullman and Pasco. The purpose of these positions is to support each agency through data management and analysis, and to position them for success when they seek external funding. The graduate research assistants work independently under the supervision of the Complex Social Interactions Laboratory Director. Each GRA coordinates activities with their respective police department, either Pullman or Pasco, and other stakeholders, including database design, management, and analysis of agency data, development of protocols for new data collection processes, report writing, identifying relevant funding opportunities, grant writing, and providing supervision and guidance to undergraduate research assistants working in the Complex Social Interactions Lab. Each GRA co-manages the CSI lab. So here are the 2 PhD students that received the 2 spots that Brian Kohberger was interviewing for. So that Christina Schellebarger and then Brittany Solenstein. And they received these back in 2022, starting in the fall of 2022 for a 3-year term. So we know he didn't get the assistantship because A, he was working as a TA, B, those 2 women got the 2 spots, but C, the spokesperson for WSU also told Fox News that he didn't obtain entry to the lab program. So it says, to be clear, Brian Kohberger never had access to any footage from the Complex Social Interaction Lab at Washington State University. Access to that facility is strictly controlled. All research assistants must complete a background check, an FBI Criminal Justice Information Services Level 2 certification, be fingerprinted by the FBI, and sign a confidentiality agreement in order to enter the facility. So the fact that Kohberger did not have access to the lab also means he did not get the assistantship.
I want to know if we're going to find out during the trial why he didn't get the internship at Pullman Police Department, and if that's believed to be a piece of this.
Well, I think it happened twice, because he spoke with the chief of police in April. There was an email that was circulating about him talking about the intern chief police position. Then he again applied in the fall. So if he's applying in the fall, that tells me he didn't get in the spring when he applied and he spoke to them in the spring.
So no, he did not apply twice. There was not a fall application again. You apply in the spring before you show up on campus for the fall for your PhD program. And as I already showed, it was those 2 3-year positions. So you interviewed in the spring of 2022 to start in the fall of 2022. And then that would have went through 3 years, so through 2025. And where Daniel's getting confused is from the PCA, and I'll show you what Payne wrote. And, you know, I can acknowledge that Payne is a dumbass on some of these things, how he worded them. He made this more complicated than it needed to be worded. So here's where Daniel's getting confused. Payne wrote, these records also showed Kohberger wrote an essay when he applied for an internship with the Pullman Police Department in the fall of 2022. So it wasn't an internship, it was an assistantship. And he didn't do the essay and apply in the fall of 2022. Payne, the way Payne worded it, it makes it sound like he did all that in the fall of 2022. It would start in the fall of 2022. And actually what Payne should have wrote was in the spring, in April of 2022, he applied for an assistantship with WSU PD through the PhD program that was to start in the fall of 2022. So he royally screwed that up with the wording, and that's where you have people getting confused. And here is that email exchange that Daniel references, which was with Chief Jenkins, and you can see Kohberger is referencing the research assistantship for public safety. So he applied in April for that assistantship. He didn't apply again in the fall because there was no fall application process. It's always done in the spring before PhD students arrive for the fall semester. So it's crazy that this stuff keeps getting brought up again and again and again. It's like everything old is new again. This has already been rehashed. We know he didn't get the assistantship. We know he was not an intern anywhere because there's no intern requirement with the PhD program, and also intern spots with WSU PD, Pullman PD, Moscow PD, etc. Those are reserved for undergrad students. You're not going to find a master's student or a PhD student doing internships there, especially not a PhD student when they have to do research or teaching assistantship. They're not going to have time to be a lowly intern at the police department. And like WSU police, they'll do both the cadets, so that who are going to go out and help patrol with the regular police, but they also hire the people to staff the office. And those are usually like women on the dance team that are Crim J majors, things like that. People that are wanting to go into law. So you've got the kids that are thinking about going into being police officers and the kids that are going into like law and things like that. By the time you hit the PhD level, you've decided that you want to do academia. So you're not going to be getting internship positions with the local police department. What that position was that Kohberger applied for was completely different than an internship. It was actually running the complex social interactions lab, where they reviewed body cam footage to do best practices, to help write grants, to help, I mean, complete, you're running the thing, baby. You're not an intern. Yeah, you have a supervisor in the police department and the Crim J program, but you are in charge of undergraduate researchers under you. So master's students are under you. So I hope this clears things up, because if I hear one more time that Kohberger was working for Moscow PD or Latah County Sheriff or Pullman PD or Whitman County Sheriff, no, he wasn't. He wasn't. And we know he wasn't. All of the information's out there that lets us know he wasn't.